The majority of this advice that we're seeing out there specifically tied to what you should do with your home. First, you got to know what your goal is, and then how do you reach that goal? It's understanding where your leverage is. That's the most important
That's
part.
it.
And you have the figures, and we're going to go through the math. So that's coming up.
My husband and I could use your advice on whether to sell our home or not. He had to retire early due to medical reasons, and he's 60. I'm 57, and we weren't ready to financially retire. And so now we are kind of trying to decide. I've got about 3 to 4 years left before I can retire. And we are wondering, do we go ahead and sell our home now and get out of a house payment and put the proceeds from our sale to our retirement, and then we won't have a house payment? Or do we, our home should be paid off probably about the same time in 4 years. Do we wait and then just take the proceeds and put it into our retirement at that time?
So where are you going to live?
Well, we thought we would downsize and get a smaller home and then just pay for it outright.
Oh, okay. And put the balance into your retirement plan.
Right, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, either one's fine. When would you like to do that?
Well, we just didn't know financially what would make more sense, if we should do it now or wait down the road.
Mathematically, if you do it now, you don't have a house payment, so you can save more.
Okay, that's kind of what we wondered. We're just torn. We kind of like our house, but yet on the other hand, it's probably
So what will your
time to
home sell for?
Anyway? Probably about $475.
And what would you buy?
And maybe hopefully around a 300 tops.
Okay, all right. And you would have no house payment at that point.
Right.
But you have a house payment now.
Correct.
Okay. And he, you earn what?
I am in the school system, so I would receive a pension, but I've probably got, well, it depends if I can hold off for 4 years to reach full benefits, or if I go in 2 years.
Why can't you
I'm
hold
eligible.
off? You're only 57.
I know. I'm to be honest, I'm getting a little burned out.
Okay. All right. And so how much money do you all have in your nest egg?
We have in his nest egg 465,000.
And you don't have one at all, except your pension would be coming.
Right.
Okay.
If I retire in 2.5 years, my pension would be about $1,800.
And if you wait for it, it'd be how much?
About $2,300. $2,400.
$6,000 year difference, not huge. Okay. Okay, what's the nature of his medical disability?
He's developed seizures, and he is working for a farmer, but he was working for an electric company, and so those two just don't really go together. So
Sure.
he had to retire.
Sure.
Yeah.
So he's working for a farmer?
Yeah, just to supplement our income.
I see. Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I turned 60 this year. So there's not anything that says he can't start a brand new career.
True.
I mean, unless these seizures keep him from doing it.
Make it make sense.
Now, not necessarily at a 9-to-5 job, but he could start a business where he controls what he does.
The entire point of working so hard is so that you don't have to work forever. Not just because you should be able to have the privilege of not working, but because sometimes you cannot.
What could you do to your situation to make it more fun to finish the 4 years? I think he needs to not think of this
Seizures.
Early retirement as mandatory. I think instead of an early retirement, maybe it's a change of direction.
Yeah, I think so.
Because I think he's making a lot less right now than he's probably worth. He could make a lot more if he thought this through a little bit more. So I
Yeah.
want to encourage him to start a brand new business and have the next 20 years be amazing while between 60 and 80 go make $1 million.
He can't make a neurological condition a good time so that he can just work longer.
Why
That
not?
would be nice.
Why not? No, I
Yeah.
mean, why not? What
Yeah.
else? Or work for a farmer? I mean, let's go do something.
I
Yeah, let's go
know.
do something.
I agree.
Yeah, because sometimes it's just a mentality of, oh, I can't do my job anymore because of medical, and so I have to sit down. Oh, well, instead of sitting down, I'll pick vegetables. Maybe there's something else to do. Maybe there's an encore career where the curtain goes up, curtain goes down, we take a bow, and we go do it again.
One, not everybody is built to be an entrepreneur. Two, it really sucks when people start up a business just because they need income and they really don't want to be working. That's why people are out here scamming other people, because they just want the income. They don't really care if they're helping people or not.
If you want to accentuate this and make your savings grow faster because you don't have a house payment, then move down now.
So your only way of getting out of this is to do more and downsize.
Well, downsize your expectations on ever achieving financial security and financial freedom. Downsize your hopes and dreams of creating generational wealth. Downsize your mental capacity to even believe in yourself.
It's a math problem. And this math didn't start when she turned 57.
Right.
This math problem didn't start when he was no longer physically able to do his normal job.
Right.
Whoever holds his 401k knew there was a conversation that was supposed to happen 20, 25 years ago around how do we get there, and this vehicle that you're in might not be sufficient enough. But we don't have that. So when she calls in and she asks, "Hey, what are some actions that I should take because I'm concerned about this gap that needs to be bridged?" There's no, you know what, maybe we need to step outside the box and look at things differently. Maybe there's other opportunities based off the math that's provided. It's
Right.
work harder,
Yeah.
do more, get a side hustle.
All right. It's all yours.
The message today is, how do you take control in the midst of a situation like this? What are your options? What's available to you? And it all starts with the goal. The challenge that Lisa had in this video was really around the fact that, hey, if I work another 2 years, it's a certain dollar amount. If I work another 4, it's a different dollar amount, but I'm not sure what I should do because my retirement, my husband's retirement together isn't sufficient enough. So what else is there? And the challenge, the issue is the fact that right now, her retirement is tied to an investment-based vehicle, meaning depending on what the market does or does not do, will determine how much she actually has when it's time to retire. So the objective is, how do we reduce risk? Maybe not eliminate risk. Maybe eliminating risk isn't an option. But how do we reduce risk so that we can produce secure, uninterrupted compound interest? Kind of digging into this, there's a lot of details here that were spoken about very, very quickly, but I just want to highlight a few. So she's 57, a husband 60, and the question is, should I sell my home? And there was a key point that she made. In 4 years, they should have the home paid off. So again, not my words, hers. So there's a lot of assumptions that I am making throughout this analogy, but based off her words, we should have our home paid off in 4 years. She has a modest income. She's a teacher. So if you should have the home paid off in 4 years, that tells me there is a fair amount of equity in this home. So let's talk about it. So should have this home paid off in 4 years. The math tells me that there's potentially 26 years of equity, which means 26 years from today is 1997, or from this year is 1997, which means there is a fair amount of equity in this home that should be available, because she also stated that the home was worth, that she felt as though if they sold the home, they would get about $475 for the home. So if if she's 4 years away from paying off the home and they could sell the home at $475, what that told me was, again, just working backwards and doing some math, there's a purchase price, and again, making an assumption around an interest rate, there's anywhere from $260,000 to $300,000 of equity in this home. And I want to show you how I came to that, because I just want to make sure you understand that this is not me and my math. This is just based off what she stated, being able to pay the home off in 4 years. There's no other way this could work out. Thank you. So there's two scenarios that I called out. One, what if the home was priced around $350,000, and within I just chose a modest interest rate of 4%, and that produces a monthly mortgage of right around $1,670. And so I did a couple of scenarios. The first one was, hey, what does it look like at $350,000 and 4%? And then I also did what does it look like at $400,000, around the same 4%. So if you look at the amortization schedule, which is here, if she's 4 years away from paying the home off at a home that started right around $350,000 and being able to sell around $475 by now, that means 4 years from now, that would be right around year 26. So 4 years from now, the mortgage owed on this home would be somewhere around $89,000. Somewhere in this range is what we're talking about, if they have 4 years left to pay off this home. So if it's somewhere in this range, what that told me was there is somewhere around $350,000 to $400,000, or $300,000 to $400,000 of equity inside this home. And no one talks about using that equity. What we talked about was maybe you should sell and downsize. And she made it very, very clear. We actually like our home. We actually like where we are. And so based off the fact that there's approximately somewhere around $350,000 to $400,000 a purchase price, and if they are in a position to be able to pay off the home in 4 years, that told me that they owe somewhere between $89,000 and $100,000 on this mortgage. $89,000 and $100,000, which would be paid off again in 4 years. So that tells me anywhere from $260,000 to $300,000 of equity is what we're talking about. So, okay. But now let's talk about Lisa a little bit. She is a teacher, and she sounded as though she was an avid Dave Ramsey follower. And so I didn't hear her talk about struggling with medical bills. She talked about her husband's health. Her main concern was leveraging the home or using the home or selling the home to increase their retirement. So that tells me that from a baby step perspective, she's sitting somewhere around baby step 4, somewhere between 4 and 7. Well, what happens at baby step 4 is because the bills have been addressed and you're approaching that debt-free point, you're in a position where you should be increasing your amount going into your retirement to upwards of 15%. So again, she's a teacher looking to retire in about 4 years, modest income because she's in the school system. So I assessed her income at somewhere around $70,000. And again, I backed into this number based off that $2,300 or $1,800 in pension. So it's just math that I backed into. So if she's making around $70,000 a year, we're talking about somewhere around $5,000 a month in income. And because because expenses was not a concern in this call, the concern was the house.
Right.
It tells me that she's been an avid Dave follower. So therefore, expenses should be addressed. Debt should be addressed. So there should be a fair amount of cash flow. The concern, though, is we just don't have enough to be able to get through retirement. So $5,000 in income, I'm calling $3,000 in expenses. And again, baby step 4 says, hey, you should be putting about 15% in your pension. That's roughly at this stage about $10,500 annually going into her pension, whether it's a 403B or whatever it might be. And the last piece is this: the mortgage. They are currently paying a mortgage of somewhere between $1,600 and $1,900 a month. So $1,600 to $1,900 a month, and she stands to pay that off in about 4 years. So as we kind of move down this path, I wanted to call out something else. And again, I had to back into these numbers so I kind of help you understand how I got here. Lisa's pension. She talked about having $1,800 at the age of 59 and $2,300 at the age of 62. If you back into these numbers, this $1,800 monthly pension is based off the 4% rule. All retirement accounts are based off the 4% rule. So if you back into that $1,800 a month in income, it equates to about a nest egg of somewhere around $550,000 by the age of 59. At age 62, we'd be talking about a nest egg of somewhere around $696,000. So again, if you were to take 21.6 in annual income, divide that by 12. That's where you get this 1,800, and 27.6 divided by 12 will get you to 2,300. So my point in sharing this is, I think I have a solid understanding of how much she has in her retirement. So her husband's retirement was 435 or 465. I'm sorry. So at age 59, if you merge her retirement with his, we're talking about close to $1 million. If you merge her retirement at 62 with his, we're talking about well over $1 million, which means, again, based off what we know about the 4% rule, we're talking about $40,000 a year in income. And again, breaking down the husband's 401k, that 465, again, just simply using math, equates to about $18,600 a year in income based off the 4% rule. So we're talking about $1,550 a month. So if you merge her either $1,800 a month or $2,300 a month with his $1,550 a month, this is their dilemma. This is her concern. Her concern is my $1,800 with his $1,550 isn't enough to get us to where we need to be from a retirement perspective. Do you have any solutions for me? Do you think selling my home would allow us to be able to be in a better position to where I would be able to sustain through retirement? Is selling the home an option? No one ever talked about the fact that, hey, how are you able to pay off this home in 4 years? Is there an opportunity to leverage the home some to get you to or through retirement? This is not a traditional retirement planning thought process. It is, hey, do you have a 401k? Do you have an IRA? Is it Roth? Is it traditional? Are you following the traditional means of being able to get you through retirement? No one ever highlights or identifies any other options other than those. The piece I want to make sure is clear here is it's what do you do? What action can you take? And as I mentioned, there's about $250,000 to about $360,000 of equity in this home. There has to be, if the goal or if she's under the impression it can be paid off in 4 years. So with that being said, what can you do? Is there anything that you can do leveraging your home, not giving up your home because they're happy where they are? Is there any action that can be taken? Well, there is a second position option. And so that second position option would look like this. What if they took a second position HELOC for around $150,000 in total? Now, as I mentioned, there's about $250,000 to $300,000 available. I'm not talking getting anywhere close to that. Because the payoff on this home is somewhere between $89,000 and $100,000, they don't need much. And so if they would just simply take a second position HELOC for about $150,000, there's some pretty amazing things that can happen. I did some just very simple math. So if you slide over to the HELOC calculator, because I want to show you what I'm using so that you can do it too. This is not, I'm not inventing this math. I'm not doing something that that you can't do on your own. So this is the mortgage calculator that I use. But if you grab any HELOC calculator and again, do the same thing. I am confident there is more equity available in this home, but I'm just being somewhat simplified here in looking at this. If we're talking about $150,000 in the form of a second position HELOC, and I am using the same interest rate of 7.03%, so the mortgage is 4%, the second position HELOC is 7.3. What does this look like from just a simple, I'll call it math related perspective on how much would this cost? And so this is the schedule related to that second position HELOC. The interest payment starts right around $900. And as you're paying down that HELOC, it ends up being all the way down to zero. So what I said was, on average, if you have an average interest only payment of right around $800, what does this look like over time to be able to hit your goal? Meaning, okay, I take a $150,000 second position HELOC. What do I do with it? It's an $800 a month payment, interest only payment. If I never pay principal, if I never use it as a debt tool, it's an $800 payment on top of my mortgage. But let's take a look at what you can do with this second position HELOC. Lisa at age 62, again, if she started at age 57 and she worked till her age of 62, that pension payment that she mentioned was about $2,300. Well, her husband's 401k, as we also, as I kind of worked backwards into, is around $1,550. So by age 62, which is her retirement age, she would have, and again, including Social Security. And this including Social Security part is one that I have not done a live on, but that's something that we should dig into as well. Because a lot of people think, hey, I want to wait till I'm getting the maximum amount of Social Security, so I'm not going to take Social Security until age 70, 72, or whatever that age is. My suggestion is, because we don't know how long we're going to be here, do the math on what if I start taking Social Security now at age 62, the earliest, and do the math on if you do end up living till 80, 85, 90, what does the smallest amount in Social Security at age 62 look like till age 90 compared to waiting till 72 or waiting till 75 before you start taking the larger amount till that same age. What you will find is the math is just the math. It would make more sense to take your money early because of, and again, assuming you live a long life, you would have more available to you over time if you started taking that Social Security at the point of when it's available. So using that math, 2,300, 1,550, and 1,200, we're talking about $5,050 every month in income. Well, if you remember, that's her original income of $5,000 a month. So meaning her retiring at age 62 and just simply taking Social Security early gives her that 550. That's her current income that allows her to, again, continue the same lifestyle. Now, it doesn't put her in a higher position to be able to do more than what she's currently doing, but we didn't have to sell the home because I'm making the same money that I'm making today, which means I'm able to pay the same bills that I'm paying today, even with me retiring in 4 years. So now we got this second position HELOC at age 57. That second position HELOC was for $150,000. The house, again, based off my math, she can't owe more than $89,000 to $100,000.
Right.
So let's just call it 100. You take $100,000 from the second position HELOC and you pay off the mortgage. Okay. Well, the mortgage payment is $1,600 a month. And that's the small end.
Yeah.
But again, $1,600 a month, you pay off the mortgage right here at age 57. So no more mortgage payment.
Yep.
But you did pick up a HELOC payment. And I understand that. So now you've paid off the mortgage. And so you no longer have this $1,600 a month payment. You paid it off with the second position HELOC for $100,000. So, okay, now what do you do? Well, because you paid off the mortgage with $100,000, you have $50,000 left over. And again, at the same age of 57, now you get you a secure compound interest account. Why would you want a secure compound interest account? She had made it very clear. I am concerned that the vehicles that we're currently using for retirement won't be sufficient. I am concerned as to whether or not there is something else that I should do in order to make sure that we are in good shape in retirement, especially because my husband is going through some challenges.
Right.
Should we sell our home? Are there any other options available to us other than, no, I'm sorry, just work harder? So in taking that $100,000 and paying off the mortgage.
And him too.
Absolutely. And having $50,000 left over, take that $50,000 and dump it in a secure compound interest account. Why a secure compound interest account? Because it's secure. And because she's young enough to be able to actually produce a decent income. And then take that remaining $800. Where did this $800 come from? Well, the original mortgage was $1,600. I paid it off. But the HELOC is $800. Okay, so take $800, that remaining $800, dump it into that secure compound interest account. And I just randomly chose $300 a month. Why? She makes $5,000 a month. I'm estimating somewhere around $3,000 in expenses. I'm not even touching the $2,000 in cash flow. You haven't heard me mention cash flow. I'm just saying there is $300 available to be able to use inside this vehicle. And I just randomly chose $300 because I like the $1,100 a month. Don't ask me why. This is just me. But if you jump over to the calculator, I want to show you what this math would look like. So inside of this, a secure compound interest account, again, age 57, and I'm going to run this out to age 72 for a reason. Age 57 and putting in that lump sum of $50,000. And as I've said all before, the $50,000 is going to be split in half, 25 in year one, 25 in year two, and then contributing $1,100 a month, $800 from what was left over in the mortgage, and using $300 of cash flow. What does this look like? Well, by age 72, she would have $57,000 in tax-free income available. Her current income is $70,000. They don't have an issue with the current income that they have. The issue is, hey, if I no longer have my job, will I be able to sustain retirement? So this is $57,000 of it. And I have this starting at age 72, again, for a reason, and I'll get into that. It produces a cash value of right around $477,000, $57,000 tax-free. And in addition, if something were to happen to her, there's a death benefit payout of about $1.6 million if something were to happen during that time. So what does this look like? What does this $57,000 look like as a monthly payment, or I'm sorry, as a monthly income? So if you were to divide 57.5 divided by 12, you come up with $4,800 in income monthly. After putting $50,000 lump sum, $800 a month plus $300 a month and from cash flow into a secure compound interest account, it produces about $57,500 in annual income starting at age 72. Okay. So Lisa at age 72 then has the $4,800 a month, which is $57,000 divided by 12. She's got the $2,300 from her pension. She's got the $1,550 from her husband's pension for another 15 years. Because remember, when I did this math on his 465 from his 401k, I assessed that in about 25 years, unless something great happened in the market, in about 25 years, he would run out. So he's still got about $1,550 left on his pension. And then again, Social Security for her, because she started taking it early, there's an additional $1,200. That's $9,850 a month. That's almost $10,000 a month that she's able to take starting at age 72. So what happened between 57 and 72? Well, from 57 to 62, she had her standard income of $70,000 a year, roughly about $5,000 a month with expenses of $3,000. From age 62 to 72 during that 10-year period, because she started using her pension, because of Social Security and because of her husband's pension, she had the same $50,000 for that 10-year period. Because she gave this secure compound interest account enough time, 57 to 62, to compound, this vehicle, the secure compound interest producing vehicle, ends up producing for her $57,000 tax-free. And that's in addition to everything else. So if her husband's pension runs out in 15 years, she's got a consistent $57,000 tax-free that continues to build. And I didn't mention this secure compound interest account assumes that she stops contributing the $1,100 a month. Well, with $9,850 in income, I think we can agree that maybe they don't need all $9,850, which means there's nothing preventing them from continuing to contribute to the secure compound interest account. So if she continues just the simple $1,100 a month, so take $1,100 out of that $9,850. So you're left with $87.40 or whatever. Continuing that, so just taking that $1,100 out of that income and continuing to build the secure compound interest account, that means we're now funding the secure compound interest account for another year. So it's not just $57,000 in income that she's able to take. Now we're talking 70, 80, maybe even 90, depending on how much longer she's able to contribute. So therefore, regardless of whether her husband's pension runs out or not, they have a sufficient enough income, all because they did what? Instead of being concerned about whether or not they had to sell their home, they just looked at their home as a tool, as a vehicle that can be used to be able to help you in retirement and still live there. Because that $150,000 in second position HELOC, because she paid off the mortgage, that $800 a month is half of what she was used to paying. And if she wanted to still pay the HELOC off, let's say she didn't. Let's say she was using the HELOC over time as a tool, as I teach through Velocity Banking. If she wanted to still pay it off, she has the cash value inside of her secure compound interest account that would allow her to do so. So even if she still wanted to pay off that $150,000 HELOC just to get it off of her shoulders, you have the ability to do so in this vehicle that you allowed enough time to be able to compound. Like again, I go back to solutions. Where else are the solutions? She can handle this. She can do this by just looking at this from a different perspective, and anything that he brings, because again, I get it. It's a neurological condition. He may be able to work longer, he may not. But
Right.
don't even count on that.
Right.
There's solutions available just by leveraging the assets that we have. That's the piece that I just don't want to be missed here. She has completely missed the fact that I've only got 4 years left to pay on this home. There is a lot of equity in this home that I can leverage to be able to get me to my goal. We don't even think that way. Banks aren't here to share this information with us. Neither are the Dave Ramseys or the Gary V's. And that's the problem that I have with this is there are other means outside of the traditional approaches to solving problems. But I just want to make sure that the messages isn't lost. If you are approaching retirement age, take a look at your vehicles and let's do some math around here's what it's going to take for me to get to my goal. What can I leverage around me to be able to do that? Because your traditional retirement planning won't get there. And then for the young people, pay attention. Pay attention and take action today.